Welcome to Athens Christian Church on this beautiful day. This morning, we're going to talk about God's love for us, and that because of his love for us, we're allowed to come before his presence. He brings us in, and he invites us in. That's his friends. And so we sing, and it's this interesting sort of paradox that often happens. He is our God, he's our creator, and he's holy and righteous and perfect, but he calls us friend, and he encourages us to come before him. With singing and with praise and with worship. And so we do that this morning. We gather together, we come before our God, and we give him glory and praise. He's our friend, he is our God. So I invite you to stand with us as we sing this morning. Oh, for 1,000 tongues to sing my great Redeemer's praise, the glories of my God and King, the triumphs of his grace. My gracious Master and my God, assist me to proclaim, to spread through all the earth abroad the honors of thy name. Jesus, the name that charms our fears, that bids our sorrow cease. 'Tis music in the sinner's ear, 'tis life and health and peace. He breaks the power of canceled sin, he sets the prisoner free. His blood can make the foulest clean, his blood availed for me. Oh, worship the King, all glorious above, and gratefully sing his wonderful love. Our shield and defender, the ancient of days, pavilioned in splendor and girded with praise. Oh, tell of his might, oh, sing of his grace, whose robe is the light and canopy space. His chariots of wrath the deep thunder clouds form, and dark is his path on the wings of the storm. Oh, measureless might, ineffable love, while angels delight to worship above. Thy mercies, how tender, how firm to the end, our Maker, Defender, Redeemer, and Friend. Love divine, our love's excelling, joy of them to earth come down. Fix in us thy humble dwelling, all thy faithful mercies grant. Jesus, thou art our compassion, pure unbounded love thou art. Visit us with thy salvation, enter every trembling heart. Finish then thy new creation, pure and spotless let us be. Let us see thy great salvation, perfectly restored in thee. Change from glory into glory, till in him we take our place, till we cast our crowns before thee, lost in wonder, love, and praise. You may be seated. You are good, when there's nothing good in me. You are love, on display for all to see. You are light, when the darkness closes in. You are hope, when you've covered all my sin. You are peace, when my fear is crippling. You are true, even in my wandering. You are joy, you are joy, you're the reason that I sing. You are life, in you death has lost its sting. No, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. You are more than my words will ever say. You are Lord, all creation will proclaim. You are here, in your presence I'm made whole. You are God, of all else I'm letting go. And oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. My heart will sing no other name. Jesus, Jesus. Oh, I'm running to your arms, I'm running to your arms. The riches of your love will always be enough. Nothing compares to your embrace. Light of the world, forever reign. You are so good to me. You heal my broken heart. You are my Father in heaven. You are so good to me. You heal my broken heart. You are my Father in heaven. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. I will sing again. You ride upon the clouds, you lead me to the truth. You are the Spirit inside me. You ride upon the clouds, you lead me to the truth. You are the Spirit inside me. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. I will sing again. You are my strong melody. You are my dancing rhythm. You are my perfect rhyme, and I want to sing forever. You poured out all your blood. You died upon the cross. You are my Jesus who loves me. You poured out all your blood. You died upon the cross. You are my Jesus who loves me. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. You are beautiful, my sweet, sweet song. I'll sing again. You stood before creation, eternity in your hand. You spoke the earth into motion, my soul now to stand. You stood before my failure and carried the cross for my shame. My sin weighed upon your shoulders, my soul now to stand. So what can I say? What can I do but offer this heart, oh God, completely to you? So I walk upon salvation, your Spirit alive in me, my life to declare your promise, my soul now to stand. So what can I say? What can I do but offer this heart, oh God, completely to you? So I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours. I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours. I'll stand with arms high and heart abandoned, in awe of the one who gave it all. I'll stand, my soul, Lord, to you surrendered. All I am is yours. All I am is yours.
I need thee every hour, most gracious Lord. No tender voice like thine can peace afford. I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior. I come to thee. I need thee every hour, in joy or in pain. Come quickly and abide, or life is in vain. I need thee, oh, I need thee. Every hour I need thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior. my Savior, I come to thee. Oh, bless me now, my Savior, I come to thee.
Man, I really couldn't figure it out what he was trying to say. It's like everything I was saying wasn't good enough. I don't get it.
Maybe you just don't listen.
Oh, please.
I can help the next person in line, please.
One house blend, please.
So, I'm serious. It doesn't make any sense.
You want to order?
Oh, yeah. I'll have a grande, non-fat latte with extra whipped cream. So,
Whoa, a non-fat latte with extra whipped cream?
it evens out. Anyway, so
Right.
I'm telling you that, like these jerks, they don't even know what they're talking about. That company wouldn't be there without me. I am the man at that company, and they don't even notice. I'm that company all in one. And they're sitting there telling me that I gotta get out. You know, like, hey, I gotta step up and do something, right? But they don't know what's going on. Right?
One house blend
Thanks.
and one grande non-fat latte with extra whipped cream.
This is not non-fat. Lady, you had one simple job to do, and you can't even do that.
Sir,
Just make it over.
Sir,
I said make it over. You know what? Forget it, okay? You just lost a customer. You know what? Next time, just think. Look, lady, you're not going to get your tip back, all right?
you dropped your wallet. I thought you might need that.
How about you? Could you be that good? Could you be like the waitress? Could you take the abuse and still show kindness? I'll tell you, it would be tough for me.
But anyone who's worked in retail or worked at restaurants has had to deal with a schmo a time or two. You may recall a few years back, many people flocked to eat more chicken in the groundswell of support for Chick-fil-A. They faced protests from the LGBT community for statements their president, Dan Cathy, made on biblical marriage. And you may have seen the video of a man berating a poor drive-through worker as she was just trying to do her job. And she mustered up all the grace and kindness she could find in the face of his verbal abuse. And it was amazing testament to her character. And I'm sure we've all endured such attacks and just wanted to lash out, to put someone in their place, or worse, to make them pay. You know, our world encourages such a view. I remember numerous occasions being around other young dads who proudly said that they encourage their boys to hit back if someone messes with them. Don't let yourself be pushed around, they advise. And every time, I cringe a little bit. Because we take such an approach to our enemies, we dismiss Jesus' teaching. As we continue our dismissed series this morning, we come to a passage that may be ignored more than any other in the Bible. It's found in Matthew 5, verses 43 through 48. Jesus says this, "You've heard it that it was said, 'Love your neighbor and hate your enemy.' But I tell you, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes the sun to rise on the evil and the good, and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? And if you greet only your brothers and sisters, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect." Too often we cheer when our enemies get their comeuppance. We smile when we see the proud fall. We enjoy watching bullies get their due. But as for those who are nice and kind to us, well, we'll be nice and kind back to them. That's how the world works. That was the ideology of the Jews in Jesus' day. Jesus says, "You've heard it said, love your enemies, or love your neighbor and hate your enemies." Often we want to stop right there and say, exactly. If someone messes with you, then you make them pay. But your neighbors and nice people, they deserve our love. That's not what Jesus says. He says, love your enemies and pray for those who persecute you. Notice that Jesus doesn't qualify the statement. He doesn't say love your enemies if it doesn't hurt you or cost you. He doesn't say love your enemies by teaching them a lesson. He just says love them and pray for them. Throughout his ministry, Jesus makes sure that we don't put people in a category where we can't love them. Jesus tells us to love neighbors. He tells us to love our enemies. He tells us to love the least of these. That's everybody. There's no unlovables. There's no one beyond God's grace. Jesus predicts our objections and he answers them immediately. Even enemies deserve our love. You know, our enemies can be lots of different people. They can be our competitors in sports and business and romance and law and religion and government. Our enemies might be people across the world who we've never met, who happen to be from a different country that we've labeled our enemy. They can be individuals from a different culture that we don't understand, whether that's the inner city culture or an Arabic culture. Our enemy could be a neighbor who complains and forces us to change the way we do things. Our enemies could be people who try to inflict physical harm on us or our family. Our enemy could be someone who has stolen something from us. Our enemy could be someone who talks badly about us behind our back. Fortunately, our enemies often become those closest to us. They might be our parents, our children, our brothers or sisters, even our spouse. Maybe a friend, a coworker, or that obnoxious boss. Maybe it's your employee, if you're the boss. Maybe it's someone at church who's offended you. And when we allow those important relationships to devolve into cesspools of anger and bitterness, where enemies are made, we see fractured relationships where people stop talking to each other. We see getting even. But the way the world doesn't work. You may have heard the statement often attributed to Gandhi. He says, "An eye for an eye will make the whole world blind." And it's true. In the fallout of getting even, we don't see any victor. We just see anger and hurt and broken. And so Jesus calls his followers to a different ethic, an ethic that loves unconditionally, including especially enemies. Have you ever wondered why? I'm just one of those people. I'm just one of those people that likes to ask why. You really can't take something at face value. I need a reason. I like logic. And so when Jesus says something like love your enemies, I say, why? And so I put this often dismissed command of Jesus through the ringer this week. Jesus says to love our enemies, so I pondered the reasons behind it. Here's what I came up with. First, Jesus isn't asking us to do anything that he hasn't already done. When Jesus tells us to love our enemies, it's not as though he lived in an idyllic utopia where everything was great all the time. Jesus had lots of enemies. The Jewish leaders hated him. They continually tried to trip him up and they sought his death. The Romans hated him because he was a rebel rouser and eventually they did kill him. Jesus had plenty of enemies. And while we often think of just the Romans or the Jewish leaders as being Jesus' enemies, in reality, Jesus' biggest enemy is all of humanity. It's us. Listen to what Paul says in 1 Colossians 1. You were once far away from God. You were his enemies, separated from him by your evil thoughts and actions, yet now he has brought you back as his friends. He has done this through his death on the cross in his own human body. As a result, he has brought you into the very presence of God, and you are holy and blameless as you stand before him without a single fault. We were enemies of God. Our thoughts and our actions separated us from God. Don't rush past that too quickly. Think of the person in your life, either in the past or the present, that's your biggest antagonist. The person that made your blood boil, that made you angry, that almost brought you to violence. In Jesus' eyes, that person is you. What if God treated us like we treat our enemies? What if God sought to bring us harm, gave us the silent treatment, rallied support against us by gossiping to the angels, or whatever else we do to people that offend us? But God doesn't treat us like that. Being his enemies, God loved us. As Paul says, he brought us back as his friends and brought us into his presence again. Not shut out, not ostracized, not ignored. Jesus isn't asking us to do anything that he hasn't already done. The second reason I think why we should love our enemies is stated clearly in the text. Love your enemies, pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your Father in heaven. He causes his sun to rise on the evil and the good and sends rain on the righteous and the unrighteous. We don't love our enemies because it's practical. We don't do it because of what we will get out of it. We do it because it represents God. We do it because we are his children and we are his representatives here on this earth. And when we do, we're merely following God's example. God sends good things on all people. The sun rises, the rain falls. Who benefits from such things? All of us. Good, evil, righteous, and unrighteous. God doesn't differentiate sending sunlight on certain homes and rain on certain fields. All good things come from God, and he gives generously. And if we want to be worthy of being called God's children, then we follow his example, and we give love freely to all, not just those that deserve it. Mitchell Dillon has this quotation: You are only as loyal to Jesus as you are to your least favorite person. That stings a little bit, doesn't it? You are only as loyal to Jesus as you are to your least favorite person. We sing, they'll know you're Christians by your love. They'll know you're a child of God by your love. And that leads right into the last reason why I think we should love our enemies. It brings spiritual maturity. Looking into verses 46 and 48. If you love those who love you, what reward will you get? Are not even the tax collectors doing that? If you greet only your brothers and sisters, what are you doing more than others? Do not even pagans do that? Be perfect, therefore, as your heavenly Father is perfect. The word for perfect in the Greek means mature, complete, or attaining a goal. And this is the only why reason that includes a reward. The reward of loving others is spiritual maturity. You know, we talk a lot about growing spiritually. Usually we say it happens when we read our Bibles and we go to church and we pray and all those sorts of things. But for Jesus, it happens when we love our enemies. All the other stuff I mentioned, it helps prepare us to love our enemies. But in the end, it seems like growth happens when we love. And not just when we love when it is easy. Jesus says even pagans and tax collectors can do that. The reward of spiritual growth comes when we love our enemies. And look around, it makes some sense. When you think of spiritually mature people that you know, they're lovers. They're kind people. They're the ones who are the most generous with their love to all that they come into contact with. You know, those are some reasons why we love our enemies. because God loves us despite being his enemies, because we're representatives of God, because we grow spiritually when we do. And hopefully you agree with those reasons. But just agreeing, it doesn't make it happen. And here's where a lot of dismissal of Jesus' command occurs. We think that if we don't do evil to someone, that if we don't cause them harm, then we're loving them. So there's someone in our lives that's considered our enemy, and we equate avoiding them with loving them. We keep our distance from them. We ignore them. We act like they don't exist. Maybe we even go to extreme lengths, like getting a new job or moving away. Let's be honest. Those things are not acts of love. Here's a working definition of love. Wanting the best for someone and striving to make that a reality. Love is wanting the best for someone and striving to make that a reality. You see, avoiding someone you don't like, or that is your enemy, is not love. But when you enter into their lives and you begin serving them and having their best in mind, that's loving. It's treating your enemy like your friend. And how does Jesus say we treat our friends? He says there's no greater love than sacrificing your life for your friend. Right before this dismissed passage, Jesus lays out what it means to love one's enemy. He says, you've heard that it was said eye for an eye and tooth for a tooth, but I tell you, do not resist an evil person. If someone strikes you on the right cheek, turn to him the other also. If someone wants to sue you and take your tunic, let him have your cloak as well. If someone forces you to go 1 mile, go with him 2 miles. Give to the one who asks you, and do not turn away from the one who wants to borrow from you. What does Jesus consider loving enemies? Turning the other cheek when offended. That means not seeking revenge, not gossiping about how offended you are, not being passive aggressive. He also says that loving an enemy is carrying an enemy's burdens an extra mile. That means going above and beyond and being willing to suffer abuse just to be in their presence. It means having the attitude that I'm going to love you regardless of how you treat me. Watchman Nee tells a story about a Chinese Christian. He owned a rice paddy next to one owned by a communist man. And the Christian irrigated his paddy by pumping water out of a canal and using a leg-operated pump. It makes the user appear like he's riding a bicycle. And every day the Christian pumped enough water to fill his field. And then the communist neighbor would come out and remove some boards that kept the water in the Christian's field and let all the water flow into his own field. That way he didn't have to pump and do the work. This continued day after day, and finally the Christian prayed, Lord, if this keeps up, I'm going to lose all my rice and maybe even my field. I've got a family to care for. What can I do? In answer to his request, the Lord put a thought in his mind. So the next morning he arose much earlier, in the pre-dawn hours of darkness, and started pumping water into the field of his communist neighbor. Then he replaced the boards and pumped water into his own rice fields. In a few weeks, both fields of rice were doing quite well. And Watchman Nee concludes the story with this. Because of his loving actions, that communist neighbor, he was converted. Too often we dismiss Jesus' teachings, and we justify not being loving by saying things like, well, that isn't practical. We're going to become doormats. Why should we let someone take advantage of us? In Jesus' mind, it doesn't matter if it's practical. It matters if it's loving. Or we assume that certain passive-aggressive actions are loving. Maybe we eat chicken on a certain protest day. We slap a bumper sticker on our cars. We turn into a certain Christian radio station. We stand up for something by liking it on Facebook. You can do all those things. There's nothing wrong with them. But most of those things are just words. 1 John 3:18 says, Dear children, let us not love with words or tongue, but with actions and in truth. Love is an action, not just an emotion. What you do speaks so much louder than what you say. And so we need to stop justifying and excusing and the dismissing, and we need to commit to loving all, especially our enemies. So what does loving our enemies look like? What does it look like in your work, in your school, in your neighborhood, in your government, in your church? I thought of 3 things we can do, regardless if your enemy is far away in another country or as close as the seat next to you. First, commit to praying for them every day. When you wake up, pray for them. Don't pray an imprecatory prayer like, God, teach them a lesson. Pray for their well-being. Pray that God blesses them. Pray that they encounter God in a real, life-changing way. Because let's be honest, it's hard to hold a grudge when you're praying for someone like that. Second, do something to bless that person. I mean, beyond praying for them and wishing them well. What is an immediate and tangible need that you can meet in their lives? What is something real that you can do for them to show them your love? You might not even have to say anything. Your loving actions will do all the talking. Finally, stop the avoidance, stop the behind-the-back stuff, engage them on a personal level. Take them out for a meal. Work with them in a ministry. Express through your actions that you see them as a fellow child of God, holy and dearly loved. Whatever you do, be creative and be loving. Let's reach out and love people, finding a way to put others first, even those we disagree with. You know, that sort of lifestyle, if we modeled it more, would shake this world. People would probably still hate us, Christians, at times. It's inevitable. Because when you stand up for a way of living that the world doesn't appreciate, they tend to hate you. But the important thing is that we would be setting the example that Jesus wants us to set, living a life He taught us how to live. It's time the world stops hating Christians for the wrong things. It's time they start hating us for being loving instead of for being hypocritical jerks who don't practice what we preach, who don't follow Christ's example of love. When we choose to follow Jesus, when we choose to surrender to Jesus, we're faced with whether we're going to accept the hard teachings of Jesus or whether we're going to dismiss them. Because total surrender to Jesus is accepting even the hard teachings. So may we surrender to Jesus. May we represent God well through our lives and our actions. May we love our enemies. Let's stand and sing together this morning.
Lord, I come to you. Let my heart be changed, renewed, flowing from the grace that I found in you. Lord, I've come to know the weaknesses I see in me will be stripped away by the power. Hold me close, let your love surround me. Bring me near, draw me to your side. And as I wait, I'll rise up like the eagle, and I will soar with you. Your spirit leads me on in the power of your love. Lord, unveil my eyes, let me see you face to face, the knowledge of your love as you live in me. Lord, renew my mind, unfolds in my life, in living every day. by the power of your love. Hold me close, let your love surround me. Bring me near, draw me to your side. And as I wait, I'll rise up like the eagle, and I will soar with you. Your spirit leads beyond the power of your love. Maybe seated. Draw me close to you. Never let me go. Lay it all down again to hear you say that I'm your friend. You are my desire. No one else will do, 'cause nothing else could take your place. To feel the warmth of your embrace, help me find the way and bring me back to you. You're all I want. You're all I've ever needed. You're all I want. Help me know you are near. You're all I want. You're all I've ever needed. You're all I want. Help me know you are near.
Several years ago, Neil Diamond sang a song about Brother Love Traveling Salvation Show. Thomas Evangelist would travel around and chant worship and perform miracles. We've all heard the story about the traveling evangelist who, for a small fee, will cure you of all your ills. Well, there was one such traveling show, and this evangelist would always park his tent by a pond or by an inlet of a lake. When the crowds came, he would say, "Friend, for a small fee, show me your faith, and you can do what I do, and walk across the water to the other side." And then all of a sudden, he shot out across to the other side of the lake. "Friends, for a small fee, come and join me, show me your faith." So somebody would jump up, put his money in the box, walk across the water to the other side. Now, this is not just any person. This is his actual real-life brother who traveled with him to the show. Once the people saw that two people had done this, one or two or three would jump up with their money in the box, go to the pond or the lake, take one step and fall in. Second person, put their money in the box, take one step and fall in. Third person, put their money in the box, take their step and fall in the water. Well, after that happened 3 times, the evangelist turned to his brother and said, "Can we have told them where the rocks were?" Now, as we come to church every day and worship God, when we go out in the community, there's not only the traditional written form of communication and traditional speaking form of communication, but there's also electronic forms of communication that are instantaneous. And the question we need to ask ourselves is, do we use all this communication to spread God's word? In other words, do we tell other people where their rocks are? Let's pray. Dear God, thank you for the blessing you've given us this past week. As we come to take the communion, we are reminded that you gave us the greatest blessing of all in your Son Jesus, who died on the cross for our sins. We are reminded that the wine signifies the blood of Jesus shed for us, and the bread signifies the body of Christ broken for us. In your name we pray. Amen.
Our Heavenly Father, we thank you now for this time. Give back a portion of daily blessings that you have given us. Father, as we give these guys an offering, we say, use them to according to what you want us to do in this community throughout the world. We ask that you help us to give it the frame of love that you have given your Son to us. Yes, in Jesus'
Glad you joined us in worship this morning. If you have a prayer need or a ministry need, please fill out a card and put it in the places passed around. Thank you, Marilyn, for the special music. It's a great reminder and beautiful reminder of our need for Jesus each day. Just a couple of quick announcements. There's a lot of stuff that's going to be coming up and going on in church, so you need to be aware of them. I know you can all read, but I'm sure there's a study been done. You need to be told something like 3,000 times to remember it. So this is the first of 3,000. Maybe not. So we have December coming very quickly, less than a month away, and there's a whole smattering of things for you to be involved in. Some need some planning, some you just show up, but take this home, put it on your refrigerator, put it in your Google Calendar, what have you. So remember all of those things. One of those things is the ladies' Christmas dinner, so you need to get tickets for that by seeing Leela or Lisa as soon as possible. Another insert is about our Thanksgiving meal. We go up to Bethany and provide that community with a meal. There's lots of ways for you to get involved. There's listed there food prep and setup and serving the meal and so forth like that. But if you are not able or interested in doing any of that, we could find something for you to do, like sitting around with the residents there and just talking to them and showing them love and being kind to them. So if you don't want to be on your feet for an hour or don't do all those things, okay, you can still come and we'd love to have you. And there's something that everyone can do to help serve this community. So the information is in there, and I'm sure there's a sign up somewhere or will be sooner or later. This evening, we have our evening activities, Bible study with the adults and youth group, and the kids are going to continue working on their Christmas program. So if you are a kid, please come. If you're not a kid, but a parent or a grandparent of a kid, please bring that child with you. Wednesday, we have our potluck, so bring your delicious offerings for that. Are there other announcements I've probably forgotten? Yes.
In light of all of the things that are coming up, if you're like me, time is fleeting, and your days and weeks fill up before you realize it, and all of a sudden you realize, I wish the world would just stop so I could catch up. Well, that's been our month, this last month. It's been the busiest month of our married lives. And we learned that prayer is a very important and needed part of our day during those moments of craziness. So before your holidays begin, and before the season is upon us, I would like to offer a prayer vigil here at the church, where you can come and just be ministered to, spending time with your Savior. There'll be 6 stations in the sanctuary, and so if you spend 5 minutes at each one, that's a half an hour. 10 minutes at each one, you spend an hour. So just come. It will be the Friday and Saturday before Bethany, before Thanksgiving, before it all begins. Just spend some time here at the church with that Friday and Saturday. So plan for that now. Just come.
Any other announcements? We just want to take a quick moment, and this week is Veterans Day, and we just want to recognize those veterans in our midst. So if you've served in the military in some capacity or currently, would you please stand for us? I know you don't want to, but that's what we're asking. You stay standing. We can all, we'll join them standing now that they've sat down. Let's join them standing and have our closing prayer. You need exercise. Dear God, we thank you for loving us. We thank you for showing us an example. And God, it is not always easy to deal with people in this world. But I pray that you give us the strength. Though through our weaknesses, we're made strong. So fill us with your Spirit, God, and give us a loving attitude and perspective in this world. And may we change this world and make it how you intended. Through Christ we pray all these things. Amen.